Welcome everyone to our weekly live Q&A session. Feel free to throw your comments in the chat and I will answer them as I see them pop up. If you happen to be catching us on the replay or on our YouTube channel, feel free, you can still submit your questions. We will just get to those in the weeks following Q&A session from there for you. So what I want to go over, questions that's been coming up a lot, factors of GLP-1s, gut health, and sustainable weight loss. And how do we kind of put all that together and why keeping that mindset matters when we're looking at using these tools like a GLP-1 product. They're definitely still big, still impacting. The market for it's growing. The next generation's in phase 3 trials right now with the FDA, so they're not going anywhere. If anything, they're only getting better in regards to the impact that they're having for people and weight loss. But the thing is even though weight loss is easier with these things, it doesn't mean that your long-term success is automatic with it. You still have to look at your habits, your routines, your lifestyle. The actions that you make with this matter in order to have long-term maintained success without a behavioral dependency on these products to be able to keep the weight in check and going, in a sense. And I'm not saying that these are themselves addictive. What I'm saying is that if we don't create habits, we don't change our environment, our routine, we end up dependent upon the medication to do it for us, rather than being in control of our actions and choices to move forward freely from it to keep the weight loss going and maintain whatever progress that you've accomplished with it. So the real shift is looking at what can you do to build a body that maintains weight loss rather than how do I lose weight. Because weight loss is one phase of your journey. Maintenance is the next phase, and that ideally is the rest of your life. That way you're not ending up going into a chronic yo-yoing back and forth of I'm losing weight, I stopped losing weight, now I'm gaining weight, now I'm losing weight again, and you're just on a chronic repeat of that. What we want is that you lose the weight and you've developed the lifestyle and habits that support keeping it off long-term for the remainder of your life, barring any other major circumstances that would cause you to regress. So what we want to look at is protecting your metabolism through your weight loss journey. Most people understand using a GLP-1 product helps your appetite go down. It helps eliminate what a lot of people call food noise, so you're not obsessively thinking about food and your next meal and what you're going to have. So you eat less and your weight drops. But the problem is that not all weight loss is fat loss if you're not doing the right things. So what happens is some of that weight ends up coming from muscle mass. When you lose your muscle mass, this generally tends to drop your metabolic levels, which makes it harder to maintain the weight that you've lost because we don't have as much of a metabolic ability to keep that weight in check. And this leads to rebound weight gain, especially if we ever go off of that weight loss medication with it. So this is essentially kind of the same problem as doing crash diets or extreme programs where you can lose weight really rapidly, but it's not something that you can continue with forever. So you end up go off of it and then you end up rebounding and the weight comes back on. So it's a different tool. It makes it easier, but we're still seeing some of the same mistakes in the process there. So what we want to do is make sure we understand that the basics still matter with this. The GLP-1 is a tool to make the choices easier. So we're still looking at being intentional with your protein source with your meals. We're not just eating less, we're trying to prioritize the right foods to support your body in its weight loss journey for better long-term health. So prioritizing your protein, Then you look at everything else. It is the first step in making sure that we're going to be able to support your muscle mass. The second step of that is you have to have strength training as part of your lifestyle and your ongoing pursuit for weight loss to make sure that we're burning the right weight. So doing your strength training, you got to do a minimum 2 to 3 days a week. This tells the body to keep your muscle and burn the fat. If you're not doing something that stimulates the muscle tissue enough, the body ends up burning off almost as much muscle as it does fat, effectively lowering that metabolism, making it harder to keep the weight off once you get to your goal. So again, doesn't need to be extreme strength training. We just need something 2 to 3 days a week that is moderately challenging enough to make your body work in a sense that it knows that I need this muscle because we're dependent upon using it too much throughout the week to not have it around. That's all that we need. We're not trying to become the next, Mr. or Miss Olympia. We're just trying to preserve our muscle mass as we burn fat to better sustain our metabolic health. Keeping that muscle will make you more metabolically active. It'll make it easier to keep the weight off. It'll reduce your insulin sensitivity, so you are more reactive and more capable of keeping the weight off going forward. The second component is looking at your gut health. Sometimes people swing too far from the just eat less or just eat protein, and then they end up not getting the fiber that we need for a healthy gut. This is important because the fiber is going to help keep your digestion moving. It helps improve fullness. It also supports better food control in the aspect of appetite suppression. But your gut plays a big role in that appetite regulation as well, and it helps, paired with the GLP-1s, kind of enhance those things. So when you eat better quality foods, so foods that have your protein, foods that aren't overly processed so they still have the fiber component in them, you get more nutrients. This makes it easier to regulate your hunger. It makes it easier to keep your energy stable so we're not peaking and crashing. And because you're eating foods with a higher nutrient density, cravings tend to go down because your body's not looking for that next source of fuel to get it going again. The easiest thing to do this, especially from a weight loss perspective, is keeping vegetables as a consistent part of your meals. So, we talk about starting with your protein. Second thing we look at is your vegetable serving. Starting with that, then we can start looking at what other foods can we make part of the meal. That's when we look at a moderate carbohydrate serving, a moderate fat serving if needed, but we want to keep it with whole food ingredients, not heavily processed options. That way, even the carbohydrate that we're having is still higher in fiber, still nutrient dense to assist in keeping you full, keeping you nourished to keep those cravings and things at bay. Putting these habits in place where you're using a tool like the GLP-1s to make it easier to make these choices and decisions because you're not battling that voice inside your head that's trying to get you to dive into the processed foods, the sugars, and other things that got us in trouble. It makes it easier to start creating these habits, because if you do this consistently enough, it becomes your new routine. These become your lifestyle. And these are the habits that will sustain weight loss long term for you. So once you've achieved your weight loss goal, you're not overly dependent upon staying on the GLP-1 product to keep everything in check, because now we've created the habits that allow weight to stay managed rather than just going back to the way things were. So the key thing is that we use these as a tool to overcome the ideas of extreme dieting, the ideas of over restriction. What we're trying to do is create structure and consistency in your life and your routines. So building your plate, protein first, your vegetables second. We look at a moderate carbohydrate if needed, a moderate fat if needed, whole food ingredients to keep your body nourished, keep your body full, and keep your energy sustained. This helps it make it easier to control your calories, and it helps keep your appetite lower even without the GLP-1 products, so it's easier to keep the weight off. And the big thing is, by prioritizing this, we keep a lot of the concerns with using GLP-1s at a lower level. So a lot of people see is when they're using the GLP-1s, because of how much it suppresses your appetite, sometimes it's harder to hit the needed nutrients to maintain better health. Other aspects are GI issues, but this is typically from the poor food choices that don't allow enough motility, because there's not enough fiber for the digestion to be able to move it when it's been slowed by the GLP-1 product. So by getting more whole food ingredients, you're able to eat a more nutrient-dense, structured meal, keeping your hydration up so the fiber can actually move easily. And you're not just relying on just don't eat, you're actually learning how to eat foods that nourish and support your body so you can actually feel full even when you go off of the GLP-1 product. These are key things to kind of think of, and you want to track and look at what are your energy levels like, what are your strength in your workouts, your digestion, and is this is what you're doing something that you can keep consistently doing. So the idea of prioritizing your protein, your vegetables first, you can still have some of the other foods that you want, but we're able to keep them in a more controlled portion, and they're not overwhelming our food intake, creating those challenges in maintaining your energy and maintaining your nutrient density, maintaining your muscle mass, and therefore your metabolic health. That's really the key behind these things, to keep you consistent. If all of that is working, then you're on the right track. If any of those are lacking, your energy is dipping, your strength is starting to go drastically down, you have a lot of digestive upset, what you're choosing is for your routines isn't going to be able to be kept consistent, we need to make adjustments to make it so you can actually sustain the weight loss that you achieve. So the goal is not lose weight as fast as possible, even if you are using a GLP-1 product. The goal is lose weight in a way that we can keep it off, in a way that you truly feel better, in a way that you can still function optimally for long-term health. So if you don't build these habits, the appetite will come back. We fall back into the previous habits that we were doing without the GLP-1, and the weight comes back, and sometimes with a greater vengeance, because we're less metabolically active than when we started our weight loss journey in the beginning. So we want to focus that the GLP-1 is a tool, not a magic wand. It's going to help you lose weight, but we still have to put some energy and focus into making good choices and creating healthy habits to build a lifestyle that can keep the weight off long term in a way that we can enjoy and have fun with, and not feel the need to stay on the GLP-1 products forever along the way. So you want to focus on things that you're adding. You're adding your protein, you're adding fiber, you're adding movement, and creating structure in your lifestyle and routines, not just removing calories or food groups for the sake of weight loss at all costs. So if you're using GLP-1s, or if you're curious about GLP-1s, but you're not sure about how to structure the whole lifestyle change or approach, and you're struggling with keeping it consistent, that's what we're here for. Please reach out. Let's help you build routines and habits for a lifestyle that fits you and the health that you deserve to have and keep long-term going. Let us know. We're here to help. Hope all that was helpful. Otherwise, remember to stay persistent in your consistent pursuit of health.